The trading station of Nexus 7 floated in the neutral zone between three stellar empires, a place where species from across the galaxy came to conduct business, far from the prying eyes of their governments. Its corridors buzzed with the chatter of 100 different languages, and the air carried the mingled scents of exotic spices, lubricants, and atmospheric mixtures suited to various biochemistries. Zixtal struggled to navigate the crowded marketplace on their mobility support frame. The Valorans' lower appendages had been crushed in a mining accident years ago, leaving them dependent on the mechanical apparatus that whirred and clicked with each labored movement. The device was old, prone to malfunctions, and Zixtal couldn't afford the newer models that glided smoothly and silently. 3 Kragnor warriors blocked the narrow passage between vendor stalls. The reptilian species stood nearly 8 feet tall, their scaled hides glinting under the station's artificial lighting. They were known throughout the galaxy as enforcers and mercenaries, trading their considerable strength for credits. "Move aside, cripple," the largest Kragnor growled, his translator rendering the insult in flat, emotionless tones that somehow made it worse. Zixtal's antennae drooped. "Please, honored ones, I am trying. My frame is slow." The Kragnor's tail lashed out, striking the mobility frame. Sparks flew from the damaged actuator, and Zixtal crumpled to the deck with a cry of distress. The few nearby aliens quickly turned away, unwilling to interfere with Kragnor affairs. "Pathetic," another warrior sneered, raising his boot to deliver a kick. "I wouldn't do that." The voice was quiet but carried an edge sharp enough to cut Duralai. The Kragnor turned to find 2 humans in the dark blue uniforms of the Terran Coalition Marines standing behind them. The female, her name tag reading Rise, had her arms crossed, while her companion Hart stood with deceptive casualness, his hand resting near his sidearm. Sergeant Susan Reyes had seen enough in her 12 years of service to recognize predators when she encountered them. These Kragnor had the swagger of bullies who'd never faced real consequences. "This is not your concern, human," the lead Kragnor hissed. "We are simply clearing a path." "Funny," Corporal Evan Hart said, his tone conversational. "Looked to me like you were assaulting a disabled civilian." The Kragnor laughed, a sound like grinding rocks. "What will you do? There are 3 of us. You are merely 2 soft mammals." Susan's expression didn't change. "Let me tell you something about humans. We've got this weird thing about bullies. We really, really don't like them." She stepped forward, and despite the size difference, the Kragnor actually retreated half a step. There was something in her eyes, something that had made humanity's reputation across the stars a stubborn refusal to back down that bordered on insanity. "Here's what's going to happen," Susan continued. "You're going to help our Valoran friend get back up. You're going to apologize. And then, you're going to pay for repairs to that mobility frame. After that, you're going to leave this station and think very carefully about your life choices." The lead Kragnor's crest flared in anger. "You dare!" Evan's weapon cleared its holster so fast it seemed to teleport into his hand. His posture remained relaxed, but his aim was rock steady. "My sergeant gave you an order. On Earth, we shoot people who hit the disabled. Want to find out if that policy extends to Nexus 7? Nexus 7. For a long moment, the corridor was silent, except for Zixtal's labored breathing and the sparking of their damaged frame. The Kragnor warriors had fought in dozens of conflicts, but something about these humans made their combat instincts scream warnings. Humans were notorious. Despite their physical limitations compared to many species, they had a disturbing tendency to win conflicts through sheer bloody-minded determination. They were the species that had survived ice ages, mega-predators, and self-inflicted wars that should have rendered their planet uninhabitable. They climbed mountains because they were there, and explored the most hostile environments for fun. And they were viciously, irrationally protective of those they perceived as weak or vulnerable. The lead Kragnor's crest slowly lowered in submission. "Perhaps. We were hasty." "Perhaps," Susan agreed coldly. "Now help them up, carefully." The Kragnor warriors, moving with exaggerated care, lifted Zixtal and steadied their frame. The lead warrior produced a credit chip. 4. Repairs. Zixtal's antennae trembled as they accepted it. Thank you, honored ones. The Kragnor left quickly, their departure lacking the swagger they'd arrived with. Evan holstered his weapon as Susan knelt beside Zixtal. You okay? Do you need medical attention? I am functional, Zixtal stammered. But you risked yourselves for a stranger. This is not rational behavior. Susan smiled, and it transformed her stern features into something warm. Yeah, we get that a lot. Humans are kind of weird about protecting people who can't protect themselves. It's a whole thing with us. But why? Zixtal asked. What benefit does this bring you? Evan crouched down, examining the damaged frame with a practiced eye. Because somebody has to stand up for people. Because we've all needed help at some point. Because it's the right thing to do. He pulled a repair kit from his belt. Hold still. I can jury-rig this actuator until you can get to a proper shop. As Evan worked, other aliens began to emerge from their hiding spots, watching with fascination. Word would spread through the station, as it always did, about the human Marines who'd faced down 3 Kragnor warriors for a disabled Valoran they'd never met. Susan helped Zixtal to a nearby bench. You know, she said, there's a Valoran community on New Harmony. Good jobs. Excellent medical facilities. If you're interested, I could put you in touch with some people. Zixtal's antennae quivered with emotion. Why would you do this for me? Because that's what humans do, Susan said simply. We look out for each other. All of us. Every species. Every person. It's not always rational, but it's who we are. Later, as they walked away, Evan glanced at his sergeant. Think they'll cause more trouble? Susan shook her head. Bullies only respect strength. They learned today that humans might be small, but we bite hard when someone threatens the vulnerable. Behind them, Zixtal watched the 2 Marines disappear into the crowd, clutching the credit chip and feeling, for the first time in years, like the galaxy might be a little less cruel than they'd believed. Perhaps, they thought, there was hope in a universe where humans walked among the stars.